The Match Ball.
Seems to be playing well that was starting, whereas now, like, I don't know what exactly the one problem is. It just seems to be they're not playing well.
Apologies if you're just joining us on the stream, by the way, because I think the sound's not been going out. A couple of tweaks to stuff in the studio, and it's not been going out. So we were just saying how we're going to be going into the playoffs. We'd rather play Ipswich in the playoffs. It's all a bit bad.
I knew you'd been fucking with stuff.
Look, let's move on from that. We'll deal with it off air.
He brought in all this new stuff. He was touching stuff. It went wrong.
So yeah, my apologies if it's not been coming through on the stream. But if you're listening afterwards, you won't know any different. Yeah, that was it was pretty shite, wasn't it? Is what we were saying there in the opening minutes. And thanks to Levi Solicitors as well. We should cover that off.
That too.
But yes, it's quite hard to watch, isn't it? When you can't quite put your finger on what's going wrong, but something obviously is going wrong. What is going wrong? Is it that we just can't get through packed defences? I mean, tactically, I am starting to wonder now about Farke's approach, this possession approach against teams that just sit in on the edge of the area. We've really struggled with it.
I mean, I will say first half, I think we were a bit unlucky because we actually came out and looked fairly dominant for 10 minutes. I think we should have had at least one penalty in the first half. The one on Nonto definitely was. I think the one on Rutter, he gets a lot of the man before he does eventually get the ball. So I think you tend to see those given. And given some of the stuff the ref gave elsewhere on the pitch, they were definitely fouls. So,
and their goal is kind of a bit of a fluke. Albeit we were kind of, I don't know, tempting fate a little bit with that because they had one off the line, didn't they? Was that before then? I can't quite remember.
That was when Darlow came in and had a big flap at the corner.
That was good.
Darlow didn't look great either, did he? From the bits we saw, he had flapped at a couple of things. Didn't have any saves to make particularly.
He made one save that you gave a massive cheer to.
Yeah, I was feeling a bit sad by the end, so I gave a big cheer to that. But yeah, he didn't particularly look any better than Meslier, because as much as I don't think Meslier has been brilliant or terrible this year, some of the time he does the kind of flapping about stuff on corners, and I feel like a more experienced goalkeeper who's done this sort of thing before might not do it. And then you saw a second corner or something, and Darlow came out and did that, and you were like, oh, okay, same thing, brilliant. And he also later in the game completely punched one that he could have caught which is another thing that Melia frustrates me with. So maybe that's just the way we're doing things from now on. But I mean, the defence as a whole was changed around. Spence, we saw at right back, who I thought was all right, if not sort of transformative over there, because I wanted to see him make more of a difference being on the correct side.
Feels like we're putting a lot of stock into Spence going to right back and fixing everything, albeit it was strange because we've been calling for Spence to go to right back, so Archie Gray can at least be an option in midfield, and then we've seen Kamara on the bench and Gray not even come on. Well, no, Kamara didn't either, did he?
Nope.
And
one midfielder, all we had.
Yeah, Gruev, I kind of admire the fact that he's been here half a season. I still don't really know anything about him, but he did a couple of nice passes over the top tonight, which is where we're getting a bit of joy. But then that free kick at the end, oh my God, that was painful to watch. And I was watching him towards the end, and he's kind of a bit slight and diminutive, and he's all left-footed. And I was just a bit like, you're just kind of like Lewis Bate, aren't you? I was kind of maybe expecting a bit more from a guy who's like played in the Bundesliga and stuff.
I did think he looked better when he was our only midfielder and he was playing deeper in front of the back three. I did actually prefer him there. When he was playing as part of the midfield two with Ampadu, I just didn't really notice him.
But then it's weird how when Farke makes changes, he just seems to abandon his initial plan entirely. And it's like, right, back three, load of strikers on. And it made all the strikers less effective. It seemed they all just seemed to get in each other's way or not seem to be knowing where to stand. And you think, maybe just stick to the initial plan but change the players. Maybe give that a go. Maybe, I don't know. It's weird.
It does feel like we bring on a load of strikers, but then we still stick to this side to side, trying to break people down passing. Whereas if you're going to be basic about it and chuck a load of strikers on, you also occasionally need to just chuck the ball forward to them, it feels like. Like when Dan James came on, even though he was in some ways very Dan Jamesy and frustrating because he kept having crosses blocked and nothing, his final ball wasn't really there, he did actually make a difference to us because at last there was someone getting the ball over on the wing and trying to put balls in. But it feels like there's just no attempt to really serve the strikers that are there, and none of them, and they're not all really strikers either, because you've got Pirro still trying to do midfield stuff, which he can't particularly do, particularly when he's just in front of a crowd of people. Russer's dropping deep, occasionally doing nice turns and touches and stuff. Somerville ends up dropping in as well because he just wants to be involved, and I don't feel like there's enough structure to it to actually create chances from it.
No, it's missing some kind of glue in the middle of it all, isn't it?
Midfield.
A midfield.
A number 10.
A midfield.
Do you know? It's just,
a number 8, a number 6. Who else plays in midfield these days?
And maybe that is the origin of the problem. I don't know.
A game like tonight, I just think it's desperate for Pirro to be taken off and someone more creative dropped in there.
Yeah.
Because it didn't work. I don't feel like he had the ball in a dangerous area at all.
Well, we noticed it towards the end, didn't we? Then we saw him drop in, pick up the ball, and because it's so crowded behind him, he's not able to turn and make something happen. He just lays it off backwards, and then it gets recycled out wide. And it feels like that's what teams makers do. They just put the ball out wide.
It's felt hard to justify Pirro's just being completely anonymous these last couple of games as well, when the chances he has had, he's just kind of scuffed and have been blocked, all of them, that's kind of what he's there for. It's like if you can kind of disappear, as long as when you do get that half chance, you make something of it, which he's not been doing these last 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the comments coming in on the YouTube stream, and people, I mean, it's a fair smallish number, but Chris is asking about changing manager. Is it time to talk about it? I think that's no. Because you create huge disruption, and there's no guarantee it'll work. This team have been drilled to play in a particular way, which does work a lot of the time. It's just not worked in recent weeks, and I think you've got to be careful not to mistake a bit of poor form for becoming a bad side. There are certainly things that I think are frustrating about what Farke does, but he made the subs earlier tonight. Didn't really work, did it?
No.
He rotated the team. None to very little impact.
Yeah, I think people are getting frustrated. I don't think we should get rid of him, to be clear. But I can see where the call comes from is when you feel like you're watching the same game over and over again, effectively, which I think is the frustration of it at the moment. We look all right. We struggle to break a team down. We miss a chance or two. Maybe should have had a decision or two. They go down the other end, score with their first chance. We then bring on loads of strikers and fail to create anything. And when you've seen that, we saw it against Sunderland, against Preston, again today. I feel like we saw it earlier in the season as well. Norwich, it worked. We went behind him, we threw strikers on, and we actually won.
I mean, the Championship's it's a grind,
but
isn't
it's been ages since it worked.
Yeah.
But also, though, as well, I think, these players that are coming in and getting a chance, do we not just say, well, why aren't you taking your chance better and just playing better? Like, I don't, you've got to be careful with Pat Bamford. I don't want to pick on him too much, but when did he last do anything, basically? When did he come on and make an impact? Whereas he touched the ball a few times tonight, and I was saying that's the first time I feel like I've seen him touch the ball in like 4 sub-appearances, because he just comes on and I don't know what he is anymore. I don't know what he thinks he is anymore, because he just comes on and just kind of presses and runs around, but doesn't really do anything or look threatening in the slightest.
Loses it and throws his arms up and stuff. But again, like I say, he's not really the problem.
But then again, like Nonto, I don't think it really suits him playing on the right, because all his good form last year was when he was playing on the left. But he's had opportunities this season, and for months he's not really done anything. Gruev, you just want him more from more like Spence. We're putting a lot of hype on him, aren't we? But show it. Do you know what I mean? Play well, make us better.
I mean, there's a fine line, isn't there, between being too harsh on people and having expectations that some of those subs might actually be decent. Like Pat Bamford's he got a 5-year contract as a 17-goal Premier League striker. He still will be on a hell of a lot of money. It would be not unreasonable to expect him to occasionally score or be dangerous. Whereas, like, I think his touch today, he had one touch in the box which was so bad it was a pass. Then he was offside twice. Did he do anything else? I can't remember anything else he did.
He made a tackle by the touchline, which was the second time I noticed he touched the ball in the 20 minutes he'd been on the pitch by that point.
Should Nonto have had a penalty? Should we have had a couple of penalties there?
Yeah, at least one. The Nonto one definitely was.
Yes,
definitely was.
Could tell by the way Andy Hinchcliffe had to start talking himself out of his initial opinion, where he was like, "Oh, it's too soft," and then he was like, "Oh no, yeah, he's clearly a foul."
There's an interesting discussion around the Rute one, which happened about 8th minute. I think I've got my notes, 7 or 8 minutes, and the player like scissored his back leg, but because I think he went down quite softly, it didn't get given. Like, I think in real time when I saw it, I went, "Now it was a bit soft," but when you actually saw the replay, he chopped his legs.
I think he gets a lot of his legs before he touches the ball. So it's one of those that if it's given as a penalty, it's always stands with VAR, for example. Like if that's given, VAR wouldn't go back and undo it, would they? But if equally it's one of the, if it wasn't, they might not give it. But I do wonder if that's an issue with, what's his name? Old fuckface, the ref.
Graham Scott.
Yeah. Old
fuckface.
If you used to be the Premier League referee, if you used to be able to not give penalties because you can go, it's fine, someone else will check that in a minute. If I've got that wrong, they'll come back to it. Because he gave loads of stuff with minimal contact in the middle of the pitch.
There was that Somerville one where he just tapped the man, or he almost bounced off him, and you said to me, didn't you, that don't get given in the area?
No, exactly. It's a completely different set of rules. It's just like, well, no, that's different. But why is it? I don't know. It frustrated me, but on a day like today, I don't feel like particularly blaming him.
No, it's just another frustration to add to the frustrations, isn't it? That you get refs just being, I don't know.
And it kind of sums up the feeling as well that we're just not getting an awful lot of luck in the last 2 games either. Because I think we've been really bad across these 2 games, but we've definitely deserved at least a point from them, haven't we? Surely.
Yeah, the way West Brom have taken 4 points off us this season with an offside handball goal at Ellen Road and then a really fluky goal tonight, plus I thought a definite penalty not given. It's like, bloody hell, you've done well out of us this season.
Yeah.
Do we need to panic at any point here, or is it just a case of knuckling down, getting through to the New Year's Day fixture, hopefully beating Birmingham? I mean, it probably could be panic time if we lose our home record to Wayne Rooney's Birmingham, but we should be all right there, shouldn't we? If we, with the home record, and then you just hopefully see an improvement in things from that point forward. Because I'm not one to panicking. Like I feel like I had my fill of emotional turmoil from Leeds last season, and I spent all year worrying about us going down. And then when it came, it was almost like sweet relief.
What if I told you Tyler Roberts has started playing for Birmingham? He's back fit.
Good on him. Good on him. Just hope he doesn't score on New Year's Day. But do you know what I mean? I feel like I don't want to get too emotionally hyped up about this season at this stage when there's a lot of football left to play. But equally, it's hard not to see what's happened in the last few away games and go, lads, something needs to be a bit different here. Something needs to change. Something needs to improve.
Yeah. Well,
is it the squad or the tactics or what?
Probably, but both could do with a little shake-up, I would say.
I do hope that these games have just been a reminder to the 49ers of like, oh yeah, we left work to do in the summer and it really needs to do in January. Like, because in previous seasons when we've been in the Championship, well, most previous seasons at Leeds United recently, we've got to January and just kind of sat on what we've got. And I don't think we can afford to do that this season if we do have ambitions to get promoted. But then going back to the questions about Farke, it's like, if you go back to August, we were all saying this is going to be a 2-season job, isn't it? Getting promoted and everything's a mess. And then, the next few months we're going, Farke's done an amazing job. And now we've lost a couple of away games and people want him sacked. You need to kind of try and stay away from the hysteria, I think, to that extent.
Emma did point that out, actually. It was in the YouTube comments before I had it on screen, saying that he was manager of the month a couple of weeks ago. So we just need to be careful not to, I think, knee-jerk reactions. He's not, he's not infallible. What he's doing is not perfect. But the problem is, as well, as we've said before, there is a benchmark of almost perfection at the top of the league that's skewing everything.
But it's not anymore, though. Ipswich keep losing points.
Yeah. But now Southampton are on a good run, though. So
yeah, but we've got
the whole circumstances have kind of conspired to make everybody feel a bit bad, even though we're doing quite well, relative to.
But 4 points from the last 15 is what we've got, which is.
There's always going to be a wobble at some point in the season, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. It just feels like we waited for so long for Ipswich to start being bad, and then it has coincided very much with us being bad.
But yeah, there is a lot of football still to play, and I'm trying not to get too downhearted about it. It's just fucking pissed me off because we came into Christmas riding that absolutely brilliant wave of optimism. Ipswich game, you think, right, this should be the thing that kickstarts the season. We should go on a big run of form now. They should be absolutely buzzing in the dressing room, and then they just can't translate it into performances when they come up against like West Brom and difficult teams like Preston were as well. They were physical and they sat deep as well, and we just can't break them down.
There's a concern as well of it being a block of games that all feel the same, so it starts to feel a little bit like maybe we've been found out. You can accept that there seems like there's always about a 20% chance of a result in the Championship being completely random. Like form will go completely out the window. Someone who's not won away all season will go to the top of the league and win. Random stuff happens every week, but it feels like these games have all been so similar and against similar-ish teams that are around the playoffs and have just contained us with it fairly comfortably by being a bit physical, upsetting Somerville, upsetting Ruter, riding their luck a little bit maybe with some of the decisions that they're getting early on, and then it's just, I don't know, it just feels like it just ebbs away from us, does the game. So.
Got to laugh at what David just sent in a comment saying Dan's emotionally circling the drain, circling the drain like all of us trying to fight it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not circling the drain. I was having a nice time for the early part of the season, and it feels like they've taken that away from me, and I kind of resent them for it.
This always happens, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I know, and I hate the fact that we're reverting to type.
We never learn, do we?
Oh, we'll just enjoy this season. It doesn't matter if we're in the playoffs. I won't. It'd be awful. It'd be awful.
It's never supposed to be nice, though, is it?
No, not really.
Joel's getting down to some of the details here, saying it's not really about emotional hype. It's evident with what we have, we should be doing far better. And what don't we have a number 10? And yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. It's the thing that we never attended to at the end of the transfer window, and perhaps it's starting to cost us a bit now.
I am getting a bit frustrated by his lack of imagination at number 10, though, because it just seems to be leave Pirou there and see what happens. And game after game, nothing happens there. So you think, well, is it worth trying to put Somerville there, or Gray there, or Ruter there, or just mix something up? Because it feels like that's one bit of the team that's almost completely fixed.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because there is no like natural alternative. So you are thinking, should we play another person slightly out of position, which is annoying.
What about the thought that Ben's suggesting that we need to be more, we need more verve in attack rather than like the blood and guts approach that Reevy, Wilco, Bielsa, even Grayson adopted? Is that the only way we can be successful? It doesn't have to be, does it? It felt like we were finding another way earlier this season when people were saying like the fault with Bielsa's football, which is held up as this gold standard, was that it was sometimes not pragmatic enough. So we've got a more pragmatic manager. Now we're saying, well, we don't like that either.
We just want to win every single game. That's really the issue.
Yeah, which is that's the point I was making about Leicester. Unfortunately, because they just about are, it's making us all sit here and think, we should be doing that. I mean, the point is we actually should be doing better than we are as well, because we're demonstrably better than West Brom and have been in both games. But tonight we didn't look like it.
It's frustrating when there's such a huge amount of talent in the team, Like I still think, probably even including Leicester, every team in this league would like 4 or 5 of our attacking players as options, and yet we managed to get them all on the pitch at once and look like we don't have any idea for a while.
It's irritating as well when one of those front 4 doesn't score. We just don't look like scoring from anywhere else. Like Rodon keeps getting chances from set pieces, never looks like scoring. He's getting a bit Jason Pearce now, isn't he? But, never really have a goal threat from midfield. Other players need, other than Pascal Stroud, but he wasn't playing tonight, but we just need some other goals. Like Leicester tonight, you see James Justin, their left back, just spanking one in from 30 yards. You think, can't just one of our players do that? It would make life a lot easier.
What is a left back though?
Well, I think he's actually a right back, to be fair. He's playing left back.
That's
all the rage.
The mad thing about what happened tonight as well is that the goal came from our left back position, and it was Sam Byram who'd been the best player there. Not his fault necessarily, because you could see him pointing at Somerville to go pick up the man. Somerville just switches off for a second, the run comes in behind him, and you're punished.
Yeah. He had a bit of a frustrated evening, did Somerville, I think. I think he gets a bit pissed off with how many people are around him. But that should mean there's loads of space somewhere else, and we're not finding it.
And we're not finding a way to exploit that, are we?
No.
It summed it up in the last 5 minutes. I made a note. There was Georgie Rutter was bollocking Joe Rodon for just kicking the ball over his head, and then about 5 minutes later, Joe Rodon was bollocking the forwards for just not holding the ball up and it coming straight back at him. I was like, yeah, one of those nights.
Perlo's bid with a suggestion saying that Rutter and Somerville should be our wide players. Pirro should be our centre forward, and our number 10 should be signed. What do you think to that as an idea? Tactically, maybe switching to something more akin to a 4-3-3.
I'd be willing to give it a go.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, the number 10, definitely. Just to give us an actual option of trying a different way to unlock a defence rather than just chucking Pat Bamford at him, which seems to be the main thing at the moment, which hasn't actually worked for several years.
Yeah. It's the limitations within the squad, I think, are starting to show, aren't they? It's still a strong squad for this level, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't work when you put Pat on. Is that his fault? It's not his fault.
No, it's not. It's not his fault. I mean, he's not helping matters because he never scores and never looks like scoring. And I'd rather we brought on someone who did.
Yeah.
So he could do that, and who can stay on side too. But equally, it's not like he's missing chances though, particularly, is it? It's not like there's we've been putting crosses directly to his head today, and he's been knocking him over. It's just everything that went into their box they knocked back, and then more often than not, when we did recycle it, it just was the same again, and not ever leading to a clear-cut chance. Our XG tonight was 0.92, which is not very good.
Yeah.
And theirs was 1.38. So
feels like that's higher.
Probably reflects that they had the better chance. I suppose their goal probably counts. It'll count twice, won't it? 'Cause there's 2 shots in the space of like a second there.
Yeah, I think at half time their XG was about 1.2, and I feel like that was 2 0.6 chances sort of rolled into one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be something, doesn't there? I think it just needs a zhuzh, a refresh. I'm just coming to the post-match. Nothing's coming yet that I can see from post-match. So we'll either wait on those, or if Farker doesn't rear his head in the next few minutes, we'll leave it until after the Birmingham game, and hopefully we've got something a bit more cheery to talk about. But yeah, all in all, it's been a very disappointing Christmas, hasn't it? I'm trying to look at my notes, and I stopped making notes in the second half. I only wrote down subs, and even then I didn't write down what they were.
I did note down...
just never felt like it was going to happen to me.
87th minute when Liam Cooper bombed forward and arrived at the edge of their box just in time to tackle Somerville, which was a good move.
Yeah, it just had the feeling of a game where no balls were connecting. They were never finding the man. It just... I said to you guys, like, I thought we could have played for another half an hour tonight and we still wouldn't have scored. There was just no way we were going to score tonight. Yep. Shite, wasn't it?
I mean, it's 2 games in a row now, isn't it? Because obviously it was a penalty against, which, I mean, as much as we're bemoaning the penalties not given today, I don't really think that was a penalty the other day. The Dan James one, I thought was very soft. So maybe we got what we deserve on that.
That's why we let Preston go and score a winner. That is right. Pure fair play.
The Bielsa spirit lives on. They tried scoring with Somerville down on the floor today, didn't they? That wasn't a very nice one. After... it was Reach, wasn't it, who stood on Somerville's Achilles as he was running away. And Andy Hinchcliffe was worried about Adam Reach's studs because he was in love with him.
Paul's just making an interesting point here. Just going back to some of the stuff we're talking about tactical tweaks and playing Pirro up front or whatever, saying that Farker explained it, that he's a terrible presser and shouldn't be up front. Well, why sign him then?
I think people get a little bit too obsessed with where Rutter and Pirro are playing, because a lot of the time they do switch between each other. But I do think another option to put in with them when it isn't working would be a lot of help. But Pirro often is just doing the poaching thing, and Rutter is the guy dropping deep and sometimes doing the number 10 stuff. But a lot of his number 10 stuff is like dribbling rather than passing. I think that's where you need that other option, just someone who can find a pass.
I think that's why when they do switch, I think it's why I just prefer seeing Rutter do it, because he can take the ball and turn with it and run and beat people, whereas Pirro feels a little bit like he's got quite tidy first touch and feet, but it's often just shift it one way, shift it another way, pass it square, and nothing. It doesn't really feel like it makes much happen most of the time. Whereas I feel like with Rutter, there's always a threat that it'll unbalance the defence because he turns his man and then someone else has to move in to try and tackle him, and it starts moving things around on the pitch. Whereas at our worst, it feels like we just are knocking it side to side while their defence moves exactly in line with our players, and there's not anywhere for it to actually go.
Andrew's just saying in the comments that he's actually done his post-match. We weren't aggressive enough. We're only 1 or 2% off it. Starting to cost us though, isn't it, that 1 or 2%? I should say the reason, because I'm checking the actual Twitter app, which I think Musk must have forgotten about because it's still called Twitter on my computer, and rather than X or whatever he's rebranded it to, and I don't know if it's working or not. It takes a long time for stuff to ping through, so the comments haven't arrived on my screen yet, but I will keep checking on them. But do you agree with that we are only just a fraction off the max?
It looks more like 10 to 15 off.
And it's across the whole team.
If we're trying to put a percentage on it's a bit weird, really. 26% wrong we were.
For those 26 goals, you want Willie Gnonto to score.
Yes.
Yeah, he's way behind his total, isn't he?
It's going to remain that way, isn't he, as well? The sub appearances do make me wonder if what they may choose to kind of twist on in January as well, depending on interest.
Sell him.
Well, but if it allows you, if you go, there's a £25 million offer for Gnonto on the table, and we can then spend 15 million on a number 10 and 10 on I know it's not as simple as that because there's fees and wages and stuff, but you know what I mean? If we may choose to shuffle the pack a little bit to give a range of options, and if he decides, well actually, what I've seen of Joseph is good enough that he can be the off the bench striker, so we can sell Bamford and buy a left back, and I don't know if there's scope to shuffle it, because no one who's come off the bench has looked particularly worth having in the last couple of games, apart from the people we know are actually first team players who've come off the bench.
Matt's just asking, is it the kit jinx's fault? Well, we've exercised the pink kit jinx, haven't we, at Blackburn?
That's true.
It's just that we've lost every other time we've been in it. I think it's just that we're not very good away.
It's even a rubbish jinx, isn't it? It's a jinx apart from that time we won in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just because
it's not even a repeatable stat, is it?
We're just shit away from home, aren't we? That's all it is. Should we wrap it up there then? Because it's bloody late and the building alarm comes on in a bit. I just want to...
8:15 kick-off.
Stupid, wasn't it? Should we chuck water on the Christmas tree?
Just set fire to it, I'd say. Yeah.
That can come down for Birmingham. I'm not having it. Say goodbye to the Christmas
tree.
How
are you getting on with your leftovers? All done?
Yeah.
All finished?
We didn't actually have that many leftovers left, but the dog enjoyed a good feed.
Okay.
On Boxing Day, so that's good. See you against Birmingham then, shall we?
Might be all right.
See you in a bit.
The Match Ball.